All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and for waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up. I hope everybody is doing well on this Monday. So you guys are already talking away in the chat about today's topic. Yeah, CES is happening later today. I don't think I'm going to stream it because PlayStation is likely to have a minimal presence there, but we will cover whatever they end up talking about or revealing. I don't know if they're going to reveal anything per se, but I would suspect that PlayStation will be part of CES. They've been part of CES every year. They just keep it very low key, very relaxed. Usually, well, frankly, there's never been anything major announced at CES. I think maybe the biggest thing was Horizon Call of the Mountain. That's my guess. Herman could show up. Well, yeah, last January, it was actually the CEO of Sony, Kenichiro Yoshida, because Jim Ryan wasn't there. So I do wonder if Herman or Hideaki Nishino will be up there. I imagine it would be Herman. I don't know why. Herman seems like he's more of like forward facing in that way. Hideaki Nishino kind of in the background a little bit. Yeah, we brought Boss in for the show. Luna's in here as well. Yeah, they're going to show a DualSense in a car. It's a PS5 car. You could buy it in like 2026. No, we're not starting. We're not starting. We get 25 memberships. We will feed this beast. He's insane. Every time I go live, man, he's like, it's snack time. But guys, I want you to hit that like button. I want to push for 50 likes. If there's anything you can do to help the channel out, to help the stream, just hit that like button. It really does help a lot. Sony doing a GPU upgrade equals good. Microsoft doing a CPU plus GPU upgrade equals bad. You think that's how some people are viewing it, Unico? We'll talk about it, yeah. We're going to dive into it. We're going to have an in-depth discussion about this rumor today because it's getting more real. We've talked about this a little bit now, or a few times, more than a few times. We've talked about next gen more than a few times, and there have been some rumors, but now it seems like it's getting real. Yeah. MRPD, you're saying Platinum Death Stranding finally and bought Metaphor and played it for like 5 hours yesterday. Really good so far. Yeah, I can't even keep up with the Nintendo leaks. Like, they're going to announce the event today, right? I mean, this is getting ridiculous, bro. This is getting ridiculous, but awesome job getting the Death Stranding Platinum, bro. That's not an easy one to get. That definitely requires some patience. It's a time sink. Do you know what your hour count was for that? I think mine was about 100 hours, 102 hours, something like that. We got Mrs. MBG in the chat. Mrs. MBG is probably here to encourage you guys to hit that stretch goal so she can see her idea come to life. MB Clown. Good morning, Xbox Army. Yeah, I saw yesterday, again, another comment on my stream. 145 hours MRPD. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot, dude. Congrats on the platinum, bro. I saw another comment on my stream yesterday where it's like, man, this is the best place to go for Xbox news and whatnot. It's like, bro, I don't know what to tell. Like, if that's all people are saying, I know I'm doing something right. If that's the only thing people can say in a snarky manner, I know I'm doing something right. But yeah, dude, we will be talking a lot about Xbox this year. And I mean, I don't know why people continue to pretend that like it's any surprise that we cover Xbox here, but Xbox is going to be a big part of PlayStation this year. So I actually have like probably the most valid excuse I've ever had to talk extensively about Xbox on this channel. So to be fair, the PS5 is an Xbox. It is. Microsoft told me this. It's trolling at this point. I know. It was kind of funny though, because like you could almost read it like it wasn't a troll. Like I started to think to myself, like, is this person actually, like, is this real? Like they're just genuinely thankful that I'm covering Xbox. I don't know. It could have been. You know, you can't really read somebody's tone. You think Xbox is going to be a bigger part of PlayStation this year than Sony or than PlayStation will be? We will see, man. I'm super interested to see how this year unfolds, because I don't know. It could go so many different ways, but I think there's going to be a lot to discuss. Am I going to watch the CES and NVIDIA presentation? I'm honestly not. I'm not too interested in that. I'll probably see what's going on. I'm not going to watch the entirety of CES. I'm actually just going to kind of probably peruse Twitter and kind of check the feed and see what's being announced and what's being talked about. All right, so guys, today we are talking about a new rumor and a new report that talks about Xbox Prime, baby. Xbox Prime might be the name of the next generation Xbox. Before I go any further, I got to ask you guys, how do we feel about Xbox Prime? How are we feeling about this name? I mean, it's not the worst, I have to admit. It's not the worst name I ever heard. But I don't know that I'm really feeling it either. It rolls off the tongue well. Xbox Prime, bro. Yeah, I'm picking up that new Xbox Prime, but I feel like the word Prime is associated with so many different things now that it's like, come on, not another one. Yeah, like Prime, the drink. Prime is an Amazon Prime? Is it from Transformers? It reminds you of Amazon. Optimus Prime Series 1. That's a bad name. Rich says, I think I will pass. Call it Optimus Prime. We need Sony's Megatron announcement. That's funny. Yeah. Xbox Prime, man. So we don't know that that's the name. To be clear, it could be the code name. But I don't know. I could actually see Microsoft making the next Xbox, like the official name being Xbox Prime. This is MVG. Don't be getting crazy in the chat now. I know you're just sitting out there trying to be chaotic. You contain yourself until Friday. Primal sounds better than Prime. Xbox Primal. Sounds kind of badass. Xbox Primal. I feel like that does kind of sound better. I mean, I don't know that it would make much sense, but it just sounds cooler, you know? Xbox Primal. Xbox Series X Part 2. That's a good one. Prime may be the code name. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If it's a code name, I wonder what the real name would be. I think Microsoft should just say screw it and go Xbox 720. I think that'd be great if they did that. I don't think they will, but I'd be all about that. Guys, we're going to go deeper into the conversation, but before we do, I want to encourage you guys, if you want to show any direct support, we are fan-funded here. There are a couple of ways in which you can do that. Become a channel member, gift memberships, drop a super chat, drop a direct donation. Specifically when it comes to anything membership related, you get access to some perks. I did release a video earlier today. Members get early access to all videos on the channel. Okay? So not only do you get that, you get exclusive content. You get access to the members lounge. We are doing a members lounge after today's stream. So if you are a member, please look forward to that. If you're not, please consider becoming one. You gain access to Morning with the Misses. You gain access to a bunch of exclusive members only content and perks. So thank you to everybody who makes it possible. You think it's a generation thing? Prime is probably popular with Gen Z and below. The Xbox Vita. What if they just call it Xbox? Just Xbox, you know? The Xbox. You know what would be the funniest thing is if they just did the Xbox 2. Ignore the 360, ignore the 1. Well, I guess you wouldn't be ignoring the 1. It would actually be a follow-up to the 1. But just Xbox, the number 2. Xbox Riz. Ironically, do you think Xbox would be better off if Don Matrick stayed and they just stuck to their vision? That's a really hard question to answer. I mean, I feel like no, ultimately. I guess it depends. I think if Don Matrick stayed and they stuck to their original vision, I think Xbox would have not done things like Game Pass. They would have not done things like, you know, play everywhere. I don't think they would have embraced PC as quickly. I think they'd be doing things more traditionally. We have Gavin Hillick, a member for 20 months. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, I think given how many times they've said one thing and done another, they should call it the Xbox 180. I mean, the logic is there, Gavin, but the idea of going a half rotation backwards from 360 to 180, I mean, what is that? What are they saying? This console is going to be worse than the Xbox 360. It's not even as good as the 360. You got to at least do Xbox 540, but yeah, Xbox 180, bro. X-Bag. They should just call it the not PlayStation. Not PlayStation Series X. There we go. We could sit here all day with this naming stuff, but let me go over this report. We have more people in here now. All right, so this was being reported by Insider Gaming. They say new rumor says Xbox's next-gen console is a... I don't know why it says is a 2026. Tom, you got to update this headline, bro. New rumor says Xbox's next-gen console is targeting 2026 and is called Xbox Prime. A new rumor has circulated online that the next-gen Xbox called Xbox Prime is targeting a 2026 release date. The news comes from X, formerly Twitter, from the account The Ghost of Hope, who has a history of posting primarily Call of Duty leaks. According to Hope, he says that he's heard the next Xbox is still coming in 2026 and will be called Xbox Prime. He continues to say that it's unclear if the console's name is the code name or not, and that Infinity Ward's next Call of Duty title, presumably Modern Warfare 4, will be a day one release. So I think this is interesting because we heard this previously, and apparently it is true. Microsoft is trying to make it so that Modern Warfare 4 is a like a launch title alongside this new Xbox console. Ghost of Hope later continues that the next-gen Xbox release is, quote, pretty much an open secret within the industry, end quote. If the rumors prove to be true, it could suggest that we could be hearing about the next generation Xbox sooner rather than later, possibly even by the end of this year. As for whether the rumor is true, Hope has had a history of posting Call of Duty leaks and is known to have sources within Activision and Call of Duty development teams. And with the company now owned by Microsoft, it's entirely plausible that he's been given information from a developer working on a next-gen version of Call of Duty 2026. As he points out, hopefully the rumor leads to others with knowledge of the console speaking out and other leakers or journalists confirming or denying the rumors. As of September 2024, the Xbox Series X and S have sold 29.64 million units, half of the PlayStation 5's 60 million, although I think the PS5 is at 65 now. Um, and so, yeah, things are beginning to heat up already. We have SGT with a super chat. He apologizes at the end of the super chat and he says, Rizbox Series Skibbity. Well, I mean, if Microsoft wanted to go with that naming convention, I think it would be pretty obvious what demographic they're targeting. Oh man, that is a cursed name though. I love how there's just series in there. There's no X. Well, I mean, there's box, Rizbox, but just getting rid of the X, you know? This is a very interesting rumor because it is now like the second or third time that we are hearing that Microsoft is targeting a very early release of the next generation. At least it feels very early compared to what apparently Sony's going to do. Everything we've heard about the PlayStation 6 indicates that Sony is not releasing a next generation PlayStation until 2028 at the earliest. Could plans change? Could they move it up to something like 2027? Yes, they could do that. But something that seems abundantly clear is that Sony will not be there at the launch of the Xbox, the next generation Xbox console, Xbox Prime, and it's just going to be Microsoft. It's going to be all eyes on them. They're going to have the stage to themselves. And basically, at that time, people will be focused on, I would say, the PS5 Pro stacking up against whatever this Xbox Prime console is going to be. But with that being said, Sony will have an extra year, maybe even 2 years, to really do something big with the PlayStation 6. And presumably, if it is a 2028 console, the PlayStation 6 could end up just completely stomping the next generation Xbox, the Xbox Prime. And so I do think that this rumor is true. I do think that the timing in which Microsoft wants to release their next generation Xbox gives us a pretty good idea of their strategy going into it. You know, like, what can we expect? Is this going to be another play to really kind of compete at a high level in the console space? Is this going to be them trying to return to the glory days of the Xbox 360? Or is it going to be the opposite of that? And it's just like, listen, Xbox Series console sales are done. You know, they're cooked. So we just got to get a move on and get a new console out there sooner rather than later. I do think that the timing in which this is occurring, it could actually be either or, but I'm leaning more towards, I think this is more of the second one where they're just looking at the console sales right now and they're like, I don't think we can go much longer, right? We have to get this new console out the door as quickly as we can. Salaire Vestora, a member for 12 months, says, let it flop. Satya Nadella is a fool. Fire Phil Spencer. Hulst is next. Nintendo forever. Satya Nadella is a fool. I don't know, man. I don't know if Hulst is next. I'm kind of surprised Phil Spencer hasn't been fired yet. I mean, he's done some good. I don't know. It depends on how you view the time he's been the head of Xbox and the moves he actually made. But I don't think Satya Nadella is a fool, only because Satya Nadella, I don't know, man. He knows how to run that company. I don't think he cares about the console business, dude. But he's trying to get Microsoft, their gaming division, to be on the same level revenue-wise and profit-wise as the other successful divisions within Microsoft. Michael Lynch with the $5 chat says, Sony doesn't need to release early. The Series console and the Xbox Prime combined won't total sales of the PS5. I agree with that. Yeah, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, and it's going to be worth bringing up here again. It's going to be worth bringing up again because, I mean, when we are evaluating this rumor, 2026, Modern Warfare 4 as a launch title, I would assume Gears of War E-Day is probably going to be a launch title as well, dude. I don't know. I talk to some people about this, or I see some people in the chat and sometimes in the comments as well. I I say I do not think this next generation Xbox, like, you can release it in 2026. It can be extremely powerful. It can have a new CPU. It can be quote unquote next gen. It can be called something completely different, Xbox Prime. It can look great. You can have a strong launch lineup, although you have to question how many of those games are also going to be on PS5. Um, I don't think it's going to matter, man. I don't. I think this. I kind of agree with what you're saying here, Michael. I don't think their sales are going to go anywhere. I don't think they're going up. Josh, a member for 9 months, says, "We will offer you no exclusives and zero reasons to buy our console, but please buy our next console. And remember, great games don't matter. We lost." Yikes. And he also says, "Happy New Year, MBG and family." Man, that one's brutal, though. Yeah, Phil's never going to live that down, that interview. He's never going to live that down. That's rough, bro. That's rough. Is the stream lagging for any of you guys? I want to make sure we're good. Saying the console's still 2 years away. 2025 just started. It's most likely fall 2026. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right about that. Microsoft wants gamers to be able to play anywhere. They want they're not getting rid of the consoles. They're not going to give up like 30 or 40 million users. Think about it. Where you guys are saying it's not lagging. All right. Good. I mean, yeah, that is Microsoft's end game here. I think they made that clear. I mean, listen, man. I'm going to be interested in this next generation Xbox just because I'm fascinated I'm fascinated by the fact that what Josh just typed out in his milestone chat is true. You know, like they're presumably going to come out here and give you like almost no reason. You know, like they're not going to have, if what we're hearing is true, by the time this console comes out, dude, we could be literally seeing every Xbox game coming to PlayStation 5. If what we're hearing is true. There's more evidence that this is going to happen. I'm just morbidly curious to know how this plays out. Like, is this console still going to sell millions of units within the first year? Or is it possible that by the time we reach October, November 2026, Microsoft has ported so many games to PS5, Xbox Series consoles have fallen so far, the PS5 by that point is probably getting close to 100 million units. More people went to PC. People are just, people are going to Switch too. I don't know. By that, presumably by holiday 2026, a lot of these things would have occurred. I mean, are we going to look at? Do you think there's a group of people inside of Microsoft that actually want that to happen? Like, they actually want the console to fail so bad that they're like, finally, we have a real excuse to stop making these things now and leave. I mean, I know that sounds like kind of dumb, but I feel like Satya Nadella probably secretly kind of feels that way. Like, I don't think Satya Nadella cares about hardware at all, dude. I think he wants to be out of hardware, like across the board. Satya Nadella is a software / subscriptions guy, and I think he just wants to be out of it. And I think that he kind of is, because that's what's interesting to me. It's like he's the same guy that's like, if it was up to me, there would be no exclusivity. And presumably Satya Nadella is the reason why we're going to see potentially games like Gears of War E-Day possibly end up coming to PS5, Fable coming to PS5, maybe even one day Halo. He's going to be the reason for that. But he's like, yeah, go ahead, guys, make another console. It's like, you got to know what you're doing here, right? Like, you do know, like, this is going to be, I don't know. Some people believe that this Xbox Prime console is going to have Steam integrated, and because of that, you will be able to play PlayStation games on the Xbox Prime. But I don't think so, man. I don't think Sony's going to be okay with that. Saying you're convincing yourself of some weird shit here. If Microsoft wakes up and decides from now on it's not coming to PlayStation, they can turn on a dime. Why? Because he says so. I mean, that's very true. That's very true, Titus. I mean, at any point, Microsoft could change their mind. But I just feel like, you remember when we were hearing that Sea of Thieves was basically the test bed? Like, if basically, depending on how well or not well Sea of Thieves did on PlayStation, that was going to be a kind of like determining factor of like, are we going to continue down this road? Well, from what we've heard, apparently Sea of Thieves did very well. It sold like easily over 1 million copies. Microsoft made more money on Sea of Thieves by dropping it on PS5, than they probably did over the last 3 or 4 years of that game. It just really, I think it worked out for them. And I think that that's one of those situations where once the investors see that, once Satya Nadella sees that, once Amy Hood, the CFO, sees that, I think they got dollar signs in their eyes, man. And they're like, why didn't we do this sooner? But you're right. They can, at the end of the day, they can change their minds on anything. Cream Ali with a $5 chat says, hi, MBG. I'm curious if the console will be digital only because Xbox already stopped making physical copies for their first-party games. I think the answer to that's yes. Yeah. That's one thing I will say is this Xbox Prime console, I think for sure, will be a digital-only console. I don't think there's any question about that. And to be clear, I think there's going to be one unit, one box. I don't think you're going to see a Series S, but here's something else that's worth noting. One of the things that Microsoft is apparently planning to do, and this just goes to show how different the next generation of consoles is really going to be between PlayStation and Xbox, is Microsoft is going to allow third-party manufacturers to make Xbox consoles. So they're going to let Asus, Acer, maybe like Alienware, like basically anybody who wants to, Lenovo, Dell, whatever, whoever wants to make an Xbox console, they can license it and actually make their own version of the Xbox console. I mean, I feel like this is going to... I'm just struggling to imagine how that actually works in any way, shape, or form. Like, surely at that point, like, this is a PC, right? Right? Like, this is a PC. How could this not be a PC? Looks like we have a direct donation from Moonshot. He says, we ended last gen early and barely released games for the last 2 console generations, but please trust us this time and join our third-class citizen console owners. Oh, my God. I think Moonshot, he's trying to make a play here to do the marketing for the next generation Xbox, bro. Join our third-class citizen console owners. Yikes. Josh is being brutal right now, man. I do appreciate I do appreciate the direct donation. I have a feeling that's not the last one. Mr. B saying those are the facts. You know what's crazy, man, is like Xbox is at a point where like they're finally getting it together with their game output, but it's like literally too late. It's like a day late and a dollar short, man. Where it's like, we're doing it. We're doing it. Our 2025 lineup's looking crazy and our 2026 lineup's looking nuts. but now they all have to come to PS5. It's kind of crazy, right? Like they did it, and but that's why I've always told people, man, like there's a price to be paid for everything. And the truth of the matter here with Microsoft is all the people, all of the hardcore Xbox fans that were cheering on, they were like cheering on like Activision Blizzard and Bethesda. It's like, guys, be careful, because if you are like a console enthusiast, like if you're an Xbox fan, so here's something I've noticed. Xbox fans, a lot of them, or basically any of them that are still kind of sticking with the brand, they've been okay. Like they're like, okay, Microsoft, we'll just kind of like embrace what you're doing now. But there have been a lot of people along the way that I think would have considered themselves Xbox fans that are no longer Xbox fans, or at least not in the same way. They're not Xbox console enthusiasts anymore because, well, Microsoft seemingly kind of shut that down. And I think that this is what, um, for the people who are really cheering it on the loudest, I think it's safe to say that some of the most vocal people on the internet, that were cheering it on, like these were definitely people who fall under the category of console enthusiasts or console warriors. And it's like, bro, if only you knew, if only Phil or Microsoft told you, like, guys, after this happens, like we're gonna start going multi-plat. I think they would have been like, you know what? Don't cheer that on. Don't cheer it on. It does benefit me, hopefully, in terms of competition between Microsoft and Sony. I'm not so sure in the console space, but you're saying they don't have to come to PS5. This is where Xbox is messing up. As a PlayStation fan, I was excited for Xbox to come back with their games, so PlayStation won't be comfortable. But then they do this, shaking my head. I mean, there is a danger here, man, and that's kind of the way in which people kind of start to paint a target on Sony. Like Sony might be the bad guy here, where it's like, well, what do you mean? Well, I mean, I try to look at it from Sony's perspective. If it's like, sir, Mr. Holst or Mr. Totoki, we just, our inside source, our mole over at Microsoft. I imagine there's like a mole over there. Our mole at Microsoft informed us that they're going to be announcing in the next 3 months or in the next 2 months or something that a Gears, they're porting the Gears of War games to PlayStation or something, just something major like that. It's like if you're Sony, you're like, I mean, you have to start to question, like, well, damn, do we really have to do much now? Because it's crazy to think that if it were the other way around, right? If it were the other way around, and all these games that we are seeing, like Doom not coming to PlayStation now. There's no rumors of games like Halo or Gears coming to PlayStation. Indiana Jones isn't coming to PlayStation, and it just continues on and on and on and on. Where it's like none of these games are coming to PlayStation. That would, in my opinion, absolutely begin to put pressure on Sony. Where it's like, Sony, dude, how are you going to keep up with this? And I mean, I don't know. It's not to say like Sony wouldn't just cancel their games. Sony's not just going to shut down their studios. I think that's something that people have to kind of consider, where it's like, we could get every Xbox game. That doesn't mean Ghost of Yotei isn't coming out. That doesn't mean it's not getting made. It doesn't mean Naughty Dog's not going to make their next game. It doesn't mean that, well, Blue Point, you may as well just cancel your game. We're just going to shut you down. We don't need you anymore. It's not going to work like that. But I do understand that, like, I don't know, maybe it's the better outcome, dude, because I think the hard truth is that if Microsoft went down that road of like, we're making these games exclusive, we're not bringing them to PS5. I think if Microsoft went down that road, no matter what Sony were to try to do, they would not be able to keep up. There's no shot. Like, bro, they own 2 major publishers on top of the studios they already owned. You're not keeping up with that. Not even close. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I think things were going to go this way regardless. I think people want to believe that Sony is. I mean, one thing that could have changed is maybe Sony would be a little bit more talkative. You know, they would be a little bit more like they would have a little bit more pizzazz, if you will, with their presentation of games. And I think that they would try to maybe hype people up a little bit more. But I think it's like when we look at the pipeline of games that Sony has, it's like I don't think they would have just been able to pull 2 more games out of thin air and be like, well, because Microsoft has like 7 games and we only have like 3, we got to pull 2 more out. I don't think they'd be able to do that. I think we would still see the exact same lineup that we're seeing. That's my read on it anyway. But yeah, I mean, there is always that concern of like how complacent could Sony become if Microsoft is just like, bro, we're just trying to make money on your platform now. We're not trying to fight you. We're trying to join you, right? But they're still making it like, and that leads me to like the next question is like, how does Sony feel about this? Does Sony see the Xbox Prime as a threat? Is Xbox Prime something that Sony laughs at? Is it something that they just kind of look at and like, okay, just keep an eye on it. You know, don't lose sight of it. Or is it something that Sony's like, that could be a real threat? I think a lot of people believe that Sony would laugh at that console. Like, LOL. What are you going to do? Xbox Prime? We're probably going to sell more PS5 Pros than you will your Xbox. I hope Sony doesn't have that attitude because that's a shitty attitude, dude. I think that's a dangerous, that is like an arrogant attitude where it's like, I don't want to see arrogant Sony. But I don't think Sony's looking at it like, uh-oh, that thing's going to take us out. That might be what stops the PlayStation 6 from succeeding. I don't think they're looking at it like that either. I think Sony's just paying attention, like just kind of sitting in the shadows watching. And I think they're going to be paying very close attention to the way in which Microsoft announces this console, the features it's going to have, the reception to it, how it sells. And yeah, I think they have this kind of like in the middle approach where it's like it's not a threat, but we're also not ignoring it. And I think that's the smartest approach because I personally think this next generation Xbox console, the Xbox Prime, I don't think it's going to succeed. I think it's going to do, I think if it just sold like a lifetime of 20 million or 17 million units, I think Microsoft would be fine with that. But I think that is very obviously not a success in the grand scheme of like, you think the console, you think of the console market, you're talking about 200, 250 million, a ceiling of about 250 million, maybe 300 million potentially if we're really pushing it. So, iCruzy, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Crusy, Icrusy, I guess there's a few different ways you could say it, saying, what if the best way to play GTA 6 is the next gen Xbox? I mean, you would assume that would be the case, but there's a couple of things about this. The first is that would happen a year after the game comes out. We are assuming GTA doesn't get delayed. Assuming GTA doesn't get delayed, it comes out the end of this year. You're talking about you can get the best version of GTA 6 on this next generation Xbox 1 year after it comes out. And I'll be honest with you, man, like at that point, I feel like anybody who's willing to wait a year is probably somebody who's playing on PC and is like, I'm going to wait for the PC version. So I actually think, I don't know, man. I don't think, I think that's something that if Microsoft were to make it happen, like Rockstar's like, yeah, we'll make an Xbox Prime version of GTA 6 and it'll be there at the launch or very close to the launch. I think that would help. Yeah, I don't think it would hurt. I think that could help give it a little boost. It would appeal to a certain group of people. But I think it's going to be like, again, like a day late and a dollar short where it's, yeah, I mean, it might be on PC then. I think that might be too soon. I don't know that I'm thinking GTA 6 is going to be on PC just 1 year later, but it could be. It could be. And that's why I just feel like if you're somebody who didn't jump on this game on the PS5 Pro, PS5 or Series X or Series S, I mean, how many people are just going to be like waiting, you know? But we don't even know. See, what's confusing about this conversation, or at least difficult to kind of nail down, is we don't know. Yeah, exactly, Lone Wolf Gamer. We don't know how Microsoft is planning on handling the Xbox Prime, right? Like, is it going to be for all we know, Microsoft could treat the Xbox Prime console as a PS5 Pro type situation. You know, where it's like you don't need it. It's an upgrade and it has a better CPU, not just a better GPU. It's more technically advanced. It has more features, but you don't need it. It's just there. Um, I say this because it's like, well, surely they're not going to not make games for the Series X and S. I don't know. I think there's a huge risk here. There's a huge risk here, man, for Microsoft in the sense of like if they I like let me put it to you this way. There's no there is no threading the needle here for Microsoft. That's not an option. It's either you're going for another Xbox 360 type play or you're not. And your messaging is going to be one or the other. Your messaging is either we're kicking down the fucking door, here's Xbox Prime, next generation, these games are developed just for this console and we're all in, or it's going to be not that. And it's going to be here's another console. Um it's kind of optional. You don't really need it. We're going to market it and we're going to get you excited about it, but it's going to be pretty clear that I mean people are talking look at the way people are talking about the PS5 Pro, right? Where it's like what's the point? The diminishing returns. What's the point? And I'm sincerely asking this like what type of CPU could the next generation Xbox have in 2026? By holiday 2026, what CPU could be in that box? And what would that CPU end up allowing for? What would it do? That would make it be like, wow, look at what this Xbox is doing, this next gen Xbox Prime that the Series X can't do, or even the PS5 Pro can't do, right? Like, what exactly is going to make it feel next gen? Because the one thing about Sony waiting until 2028, like that's 4 years from now, dude. There's a big difference between 2 years from now and 4 years from now. You know, they're gonna have double. Sony presumably is gonna have double the amount of time, and because of that, they will be able to get even, I would assume, an even better CPU. You know, a CPU that's a generation even beyond what we would see in 2026. So I don't know. I'm just not really sure what I would expect from this Xbox console, and maybe I don't know. Maybe they just don't care. Devs will wait for the PS6 before releasing next gen games. Only Xbox first party would take full advantage. It will have an NPU. Oh yeah, I think we talked about that before. I keep forgetting what an NPU is. An NPU processor, an AI accelerator, deep learning processor, or neural processing unit is a class of specialized hardware accelerator or computer system designed to accelerate artificial intelligence and machine learning applications, including artificial neural networks and computer vision. An NPU processes a large amount of data in parallel, performing trillions of operations per second. It uses less power and is far more efficient at AI tasks than a CPU or a GPU. Hold on, I'm looking something up right now. Well, here's my question about the idea of an NPU being in the next generation Xbox. Wouldn't that make it incredibly expensive? I know, Capono. I know, but I forget. I get a lot going through my mind, you know? I become forgetful. Do you think that's what Microsoft could do? They could basically go the more premium route and oh, you know what? Actually, this is the play. Maybe the play is Microsoft will be going the premium route and they're looking to increase their margins. Dude, maybe the next generation Xbox is going to do basically what the PS5 Pro is doing, except people won't be as upset with it because it's like, okay, well, it's a full upgrade, not just the GPU and the PSSR, but it's going to be the full package. But it will be extremely expensive, and people I think would still be mad. But maybe that's why Microsoft is going to be willing to let other manufacturers make consoles where it's like, oh yeah, we do have like a $400 Xbox console that, you know, Lenovo made or whatever. That kind of makes sense. They're not going to do it in house. They're going to have the more premium one in house. Yeah, that would make sense. Hmm. Yeah, see, it's going to be really interesting, man, to see how they do this because you know what? The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm realizing like if you are Microsoft and you look at what's going on, you probably have come to the conclusion that listen, the only people like realistically, the only people that are going to be left buying Xbox consoles next generation are the most hardcore. Like the true ride or die Xbox players. We should probably go all out and give them a fucking monster and make them pay for it, of course. But I could actually see them doing that, man. And that would actually probably be the smartest play because they tried the opposite with the Series consoles, where it's like Series S, Series S, $300, most affordable next gen. And it didn't do much for them. They tried to appeal to to the more casual or, the crowd that's not interested in a premium console. And seemingly it didn't really work out for them. Jerry Gamer says, F Xbox, bro. I can tell that a lot of you here just love Xbox, Would I be interested in that? I mean, inherently I would be. Yeah. I would be inherently interested in this idea of like it's like if let's say holiday 2026 rolls around, it's like this thing fucking kind of shits on the PS5 Pro. I mean, maybe that's a bit extreme. That's an extreme way to put it, but it's like, yeah, this thing definitely can run some laps around the PS5 Pro. Yeah, that's going to interest me. Not not as not nearly as heavily as a PS6 would interest me, but like that's the thing. That's what makes it a unique situation. If they're like it's $800, I'm like, whoa, okay, I don't know about that one. Like for real, I don't know about like for as cool as it is, it's like I do have a gaming PC that I would have to really question if I'm going to buy that, Mainly just because I don't have any investment in the Xbox ecosystem, so it's like am I going to drop $800 on a console that I don't have any like there's nothing here? I have no investment in it, you know what I mean? I think the Xbox 2 podcast referenced that it would be like like Surface devices where it's the pinnacle of design and performance and then third parties make variations at different price points. Dude, that's going to be super interesting. I am so curious to see how this works. Cuz this is either going to be like people are shaking their head moment, like what are you doing, man? Like what are you doing? It's either going to be that or it's actually going to be like, "You know what? This actually is fine." This is going to work just fine. You know, it's going to do what it needs to do. The Pro is $700 for another $100 for a great console like the next gen Xbox. But but that's the thing, man, is it's just like I think it's going to come down to the games, dude, just like it always does, where it's like right now, I don't think people have so much a problem with the PS5 Pro, even it being $700, as much as they have a problem where when they look at the games, a lot of people are like, I'm not really seeing that big of a difference. Like I'm not going to drop $700. So it's like when we think of GTA 6, a Xbox Prime version dropping in 2020 at the holiday 2026. I mean, I kind of do have to ask the question, like, what are we going to see between the PS5 Pro version of that game and this new Xbox Prime version? Like, I mean, is it going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're already seeing those diminishing returns. And I mean, the idea, you're talking about games built from the ground up for this Xbox console. That's a different story. But I mean, I don't think we're going to see much of that outside of Microsoft first party. But Microsoft's first party is pretty big. So, Bosme says low end equals handheld, mid equals third party, pro equals Xbox, max equals PC. Ah, that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah. That would cover all the bases. And this is where I find it interesting, where it's like, I feel like as we talk about this longer, Xbox's strategy comes more clearly into focus. Well, so you're saying exactly you pay $800 for a mid-gen upgrade, but not a next-gen. That's crazy. But that's the thing that we don't have the answer to, is like, what does next-gen mean to Xbox? Because keep in mind, dude, like, a lot of the games that are going to be made by Xbox-owned studios for this next-generation Xbox console are also going to be, like, many of them likely are going to be cross-gen. We already know they're going to be on PC, but some of them are probably also going to be on PS5 and PS5 Pro. So, I mean, that's where it's just like, if you're an Xbox player right now, I actually totally see why that would be appealing. If you're an Xbox player right now, I see it. But I don't know, man. I have to imagine Xbox insiders right now, or Xbox journalists, they're probably trying to get some more info on this, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing about it sooner rather than later. Isn't that the same for PS6 games coming to PS5? I mean, it is, yeah, but that might be the one thing that Sony has that Microsoft is letting go of, potentially, where it's like, even if a game is crossed, like let's say Blue Point's next game, or let's just say the Bloodborne remake, right? Let's say there is going to be a Bloodborne remake. Sony will be able to say, like, yeah, we're going to release this on PS5 as well, but we're not putting it on the Switch or the Xbox. So, and that's why I think when we talk about Sony, we had this conversation yesterday, like the idea of Sony kind of pulling the trigger, ripping the Band-Aid, however you want to see it. It's like, there's still a little bit of incentive there for them not yet anyway, or to at least be hesitant and take it one tiny step at a time. I don't know, man. It's so fascinating to me. It's so fascinating to me because I actually feel like Sony has so much incentive. I feel like Sony has so much incentive to just stick to what they've been doing while just ever so slightly expanding. Like just like I said, one tiny step at a time. I think Sony has an incredible amount of incentive to do it that way. I feel like Microsoft is in this position where they're like, we don't really have much to lose, so fuck it. Let's just see what happens. And I think that is kind of dangerous. It could be dangerous. It could be dangerous to them. It could be dangerous to the competition, where it's like, now you're talking about, a company that's just like, they're going to make money, but they don't have much incentive to really stick to any of the traditional rules now. Whiskey Gaming with a super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. You're saying, will Rockstar even fuck with it since they will be busy working on a PC port? Might just be a backwards compatible version. Will third party fuck with it at all? 7 SKUs across the board: PS5, Pro, X, S, and XP. And then you also factor in the third party Xbox consoles from third party manufacturers. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like Microsoft, from my read on it, I think what Microsoft is basically going to end up doing, and I think this is where the separation will occur, by the way. This is where I think Microsoft will still, like, they're going to come out and be like, this is an Xbox console. But I think effectively, in a way, at the same time, they're going to be announcing we're also done with consoles. I know that doesn't really make much sense, but what I mean by this is there's going to be a clear separation between here's Nintendo and their video game console, here's PlayStation and their video game consoles, and then here's Xbox. And Xbox is basically just PC. Do you get what I'm saying? Where, like, people will be able to buy an Xbox Prime and be like, this is my latest and greatest Xbox console. But realistically, the Xbox ecosystem has effectively turned into, this is now PC. And that becomes completely true if Steam is available on it. And I think Microsoft might try to do some weird shit here where what they're going to try to do is, like, can we basically make it a PC without people looking at it as a PC? I think that's what you want to talk about, a potential needle they could be able to try to thread. It might be that one where it's like, I don't know that you're going to be able to do that. Because I think when people look at a PlayStation 6 or a PS5 Pro or a PS5, yeah, that's 3 SKUs of console, right? And Sony will obviously support the PS5 and PS5 Pro for many years after the PS6 comes out. But people don't look at that like it's PC. It's not. It's like, no, that's PlayStation. Like, it's not, there's nothing about it that you can really extract from it and say, well, it's just like PC. It's not. I feel like with Nintendo, obviously it's not. I feel like that's what's going to change with Xbox is right now, the closest thing you can see is like, oh, look, see, we have an Xbox Series X and we have a Series S, and you can just kind of scale up and down, kind of like PC, right? Kind of like PC, but not really, because it's like, well, I guess, but they're still two individual home consoles, and that's it. Like, in that sense, it's very different from PC. I think that's going to change where it's like, well, now Xbox is like 8 different consoles. Really, really low end, really high end, a bunch of mid range. What does that sound like? That's PC. Like, that's what PC is. That's what PC hardware is. It's a bunch of different configurations. Maybe the only difference is there will be no customization. Maybe that will be the only differentiating factor. I don't know, man. It's going to be so weird to see how this works out, because I think what Microsoft is going to do, I think that they're looking to try to disrupt again. I think that they're looking to try to create a disruption, and I think it's either going to fail and fail hard, and just be something that's like, you tried, but that's it. Nothing happened. It's either going to be that, or it's actually going to, like, make people go, you know what? I think this might be the future of consoles. And when I say future of consoles, I don't mean like literally the Xbox. I just mean like the idea that we're just going to let other people make Xbox consoles and basically give the console consumer like a bunch, like basically 10 different things to choose from. But we did kind of see this with Steam or with Valve, where they released the Steam machines, and that's what they did. They had like 10 to 12 or more like different Steam consoles, basically, that the consumer was just like, I don't, which one do I pick? Like, they, you know what I mean? It just ended up confusing the customer. And so Valve basically tried to bridge that gap of like, how do we bridge the gap between console and PC for the consumer? And they failed. And so I think this might be Microsoft's turn up to bat where they're like, well, we're Windows. Maybe we can try bridging the gap between PC and console from the consumer perspective. But apparently, see, this is where things get even crazier because it's like apparently Valve is making a console now, like a standalone Valve console that will have the entire catalog of Steam. And I'm like, I mean, at this point, like we're going to see the lines being almost non-existent at this point. We're going to see the lines of like what makes what. And that's why I think Sony and Nintendo are going to hold that line, dude. I think they're going to try to hold that line. I think they're going to try to, especially Nintendo. Well, Nintendo's not even going to try. They just are. Nintendo's going to hold that line, bro. And Nintendo, at the end of the day, they will be holding that line where they're like, yeah, it's great. You got 8 consoles. Everybody's confused. Is it PC? Is it home console? What is it? Yeah, we're just the Switch 2. And that's it. That's all it will ever be. I think Sony is going to be kind of, one step below that, where it's like PS6, also PS5 Pro and PS5, but mainly PS6. Here's a handheld, but PS6, right? And I feel like that's where Xbox is just going to be like, here's our Xbox, and here's all this crap too. So do whatever you want. You don't want to do any of it? Go play our games on PS5. Go play them on PC. Just please give us your money. Good day to you, sir. I feel like this is how it's going to play out, man. I feel like that's ultimately how it's going to play out. And the idea of third parties, that's a good question. Getting back to what Whiskey Gaming said, third-party support for Xbox. I mean, this could be another reason. This could be another reason why Microsoft is taking this approach of like, let's license our consoles or the Xbox console or the ability to manufacture one. Let's license that out. Maybe that's going to be another way of them trying to incentivize third party, where it's like, guys, you make your games for PC. What's the difference here? But here's the real question that we need to ask. And I'm curious what you guys think of this. The real question we have to ask is Microsoft going to keep this Xbox Prime console as well as all of the other third-party manufactured Xbox consoles? Is there going to be a clear separation between these are Xbox consoles, this is PC? Or do you think they're going to try to erase that line or make that line very blurry and transparent, where it's like they're basically the same? Because I feel like if we could have a clear answer to that, then it would condense this conversation quite a bit, where that I think is the one major factor we don't know yet. We know there's going to be a new Xbox console, Xbox Prime. Apparently, it's still weird saying that. It's going to be weird saying that until we get the official name. There's going to be this new Xbox Prime console. There's going to be third-party manufactured consoles. We know it's coming in 2026. We know that there's going to be a lot of games, I'm assuming, ready for it because of the amount of studios Microsoft has. But I think that's really, when I talk about how Microsoft isn't going to be able to thread any needles, they're just going to have to make it clear, like, we're still doing, like, these are still just consoles or they're PCs. I don't know. I feel like that you think it'll be a PC with an Xbox logo? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Maybe this is another reason why they don't care to launch it. Yeah, you know what, actually? Maybe it's the idea of this console being expensive from them, like the Surface line, where we're going to make the best of the best, set the example for other manufacturers to follow. Maybe that gives us an idea, and they're coming out with it earlier than the PS6. Maybe Microsoft just doesn't even care at all what Sony's doing with the PS6. if Microsoft can get their ecosystem in front of more and more eyeballs, no matter the device, more third parties will want to release on the platform. That's true too. Yeah. So in that case, it would make more sense to erase the line, or at least try to get, blurred as much as possible. Right? I think that it would make more sense to do it that way, or at least try to. What's my title? I couldn't see it all. The full title is New Rumor Reveals Next Gen Xbox Prime Might Release 2 years ahead of the PlayStation 6. That's the full title. I mean, the fact that this console will likely be all digital is also, I think, leaning more, much more into the PC side of things. Please don't stick an Xbox sticker on the PlayStation. That is so cruel. You think it's more of a Google Pixel situation, that it's simply an official Android device? If Prime doesn't have machine learning, Microsoft needs to get it out before the PS6. I mean, I would assume it'll have it. What do you think the chances are this could be a complete disaster? What are the chances that this is actually the worst idea, and it's like this is what's going to like officially kill the Xbox console? Like that's it. It's now in its coffin and it's being laid to rest. Because the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, man, this messaging is going to be a fucking nightmare. Right? Like cuz I'm over here thinking like I'm thinking extensively about it, and I just was like, wait, how are you supposed to communicate this without melting people's brains, bro? There's only one way I think Microsoft could approach it, and it would, again, they would make it very clear. It's like, we don't care what happens. You know what I mean? Like they're fully ready. Like this, people are gonna walk away being like, what the actual F did I just see? I don't understand what Microsoft is doing. But they're just like, we don't care. Like, we do not care. You know what I'm saying? I think they could maybe have that approach where almost like they're embracing the failure of like, or potential failure of like, this is going to be the most insane uh task to try to market this, so we're not even going to try. We're just going to put it out there. We're going to reveal it. This is what it is. And we'll answer questions. We'll do interviews. Of course, they'll talk. And we don't really care if you want it or not. We don't really care if you're upset about it or not. Like, this is just what it is. Our games are everywhere now. Maybe that's why they're trying to push more aggressively, like what the rumors are claiming, that like they've like made the decision internally, seemingly, that like, yeah, all of our games are going to PS5, and whatever games can go to Switch 2, they're going there too. Maybe that's why it's just like, we just don't give a shit, guys. Like we're just we don't care. Buy our console, please. You hate us? You hate the Xbox console? Okay, buy our game. Buy one of our games. Buy any of our games. Subscribe to Game Pass. Buy the handheld. We don't give a shit. I feel like that might be their... Why bother releasing it then? Because I feel like it's one of these things where, like, people have asked that question about the Surface line. Like, why does Microsoft make the Surface line? Like, they don't really sell. I think it's just because it's one of these things where they have to... Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think it's just more of like a... Like, we can easily afford to do this, and it's a space that even if we get nothing from it, it feels like almost like they're obligated to be in. If just to set the example for third parties, right? That I think that they could end up having that same mentality in the console market. It's high risk, but if successful, would massively change the industry and put PlayStation in a tough spot. It could, yeah. Because I think it really depends on the reception, right? Like, I feel like people are either going to walk away from it being like, yo, this is sick. this is awesome. You know, I get to basically pick my console. Or people are going to walk away from it being like, what the actual F? My God. You think Xbox is still hoping to recreate the Xbox 360 magic, having the console coming out years ahead of competitors would win over the masses? Well, I mean, that's what's kind of strange, right? Like, well, not strange, but difficult. I feel like difficult is the best way to describe this conversation because there's still some, like, we're learning more information, but there's still so much we don't know. The thing about the 360 was it was affordable. It was like $400, right? I think it was 400. Was it four? How much was the 360 when it came out? Okay, it was $400. Yeah, I knew I wasn't misremembering that. And Wabu dude, member for 3 months, says, "Is this generation for Xbox their Nintendo Wii U moment?" No, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, right now in this moment, it might be that bad, but no, the Wii U was. I'll be honest. If the Xbox sold as bad as the Wii U, I don't think there would be another Xbox. I think that they would have actually announced we're exiting the market. Um, that's my guess. But I mean, the Xbox Series consoles are probably going to go on to at least sell 30 million, 30, maybe 35 million. I feel like that's about the same as the original Xbox sold. So it's more like their original Xbox moment again. And PlayStation is still doing great. Nintendo's doing great. So I don't know that I would call it the Wii U moment. Their next Xbox could be the Wii U moment, though. That I do believe. I do believe that. I'm not rooting for it. I'm just saying, like, I think, you talk about high risk. I think part of that risk is like, dude, this console is not going to sell. Like, you're not even going to get to, like, yeah, you're not even going to be able to get to 13 million. But that's, if there's one thing the Wii U proved is that if you confuse the consumer bad enough, you could kill your console. And that's what the Wii U did. The Wii U, people didn't know what it was. They thought it was an accessory for the Wii. So the messaging is going to be, like I said, very important for Microsoft to make it very clear. Like, this is the next generation Xbox, the new Xbox, not the Xbox you got. You know what I mean? It's different. It is different. We need to tell you how it's different. Sony has that same problem with the PlayStation 6 up against the PS5 Pro, but at least Sony has the advantage of, see, it's got a 6. So you know it's not the same. Yeah, people think the Wii U is a gamepad upgrade. Yeah. Bro, when is Nintendo announcing the Switch 2? When is this happening? This is supposed to happen. Like, I thought it was supposed to happen on the 8th. I see Xbox Prime is trending. Let's go see what some people are saying. Ridiculously early for a new generation, feels more like desperation to get out of the Series S curse rather than anything else. This is under Charlie Intel, by the way. Imagine what Infinity Ward would do with a 4-year dev cycle they're going to cook in 2026. If GTA 6 is delayed to 2026, this could be an opportunity for Microsoft to sell their new console by claiming it's the best version to play GTA 6. It all depends on how the console is. I don't have much faith on Microsoft to deliver, but I'll still buy it day one. Person says Jez Corden already shot it down. He said the title Xbox Prime doesn't exist and he's heard nothing about hardware for 2026. You know what's weird is I feel like we've heard from multiple rumors that they're targeting 2026. This person says not interested unless they reprioritize exclusive titles, cut the cord on weaker hardware, like the 2011 Xbox One, and allow developers to develop exclusively for the modern hardware by choice. Already, this gen is going by fast. Insider Gaming. No one is asking for this. What self-respecting consumer is going to buy a new Xbox console after they cut off their knees with the Series X and S mid-gen? This is worse than Sega with the Sega CD, 32X Saturn. Yikes. These are upvoted replies, by the way. It's over for the ponies. If Microsoft is Microsoft incapable of having coherent names for their consoles? Xbox can't even come up with good names. DOA. So, it'll be called Xbox Series L. All right, well, those are some of the reactions on Twitter, I guess. GTA 6 screenshot leaked. I think I saw that. It didn't, it was like 2 years old or something. I think people need to also understand the idea of like GTA 6 being on this next gen Xbox, the Xbox Prime or whatever. Like, keep in mind, man, the chances of there's a very, very high chance that console is not going to sell well. And Rockstar is, at the end of the day, a third-party publisher, man, and a third-party developer. Like, I mean, they're prioritizing the PS5, the Xbox Series consoles right now. And by the time that it comes out, they're releasing to an install base of, I would say, around 100 million in total across all three consoles. It just makes the most sense that now we're prioritizing the PC port because how many PCs are out there? 1.6 billion or something. I don't think that they're just going to be like, you know what? Hold on. Stop. We got to optimize for a new Xbox Prime version. I think here's what I think is more likely to happen, truthfully. And I just think that a lot of people are, you know, they're not seeing the bigger picture of a company like Take-Two Interactive, where Take-Two Interactive is looking to maximize profits with GTA 6. What's most likely to happen is you will be able to play the Xbox Series X version of GTA 6 on this Xbox Prime console if it comes out in holiday 2026. And maybe it'll get like a slight little boost automatically just from a hardware level. But it's not a native version. The native version will come 2028, 2029, 2030, something like that, after the PS6 launches and a bunch of PS6s are sold. And presumably by that time, a certain amount of Xbox Prime consoles are sold. Then it's like, oh yeah, here's the next gen version of GTA 6. And that'll come well after the PC version as well. That's my guess, dude. I think that's more likely. I don't know, man. I just think people I think give Microsoft a little bit too much credit where they think that devs are excited to optimize their games for like Xbox. Like, yeah, it's like, no, dude, it's the opposite is happening. Like, devs are not enthusiastic. They're still supporting Xbox, of course. That's still 30 million potential buyers. They're not overlooking it like it's nothing. I mean, again, GTA 6 is still launching on the Series X and S, but it's not the priority. And I guess I'm just saying, like, another Xbox console launching, it seems pretty clear this one's going to do even worse than the Series X and S. At least that's what people are going to assume, just based off of the trajectory. It's going to potentially be even less incentive. We have Zombie Dragon with a super chat. He says, who the hell is sponsoring the Xbox naming console Logan Paul or Amazon or both. Well, I don't know, man. Xbox Prime, I think it's a code name. I do. I think that's a code name. I don't think that's the real name of the console, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I think that'd be pretty weak. They should just name it. I was gonna say Xbox Elite, but that one's kind of risky because I don't think that conveys next gen. That almost does have that kind of like pro moniker where it's like it's just like a kind of half step. I don't know what I would name the next Xbox. You're saying they'll definitely optimize if they make a new console. It's not hard to get a 4K 60 version of GTA 6 out at minimum for a new Xbox. Well, no, see, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying it'll be difficult for them to do that. I'm saying they're thinking, who are we selling this to? Like we're gonna put in work for a next gen version of a game for a console that maybe sold 1.5 million units. It's GTA 6, dude. Like I don't think they're gonna do that. Xbox 720 3D next box, the final box, final Xbox Series F for final. It's the final Xbox. It's the last one. Something I have a strong feeling about, man, is Sony is going to be paying very close attention. I think they're going to be paying very close attention to everything Microsoft does, though, because I think even if this report turns out to be false, which I don't think it is, but even if it does, I still think Xbox is going out ahead of the PS6. And I think Sony's going to be. I think a lot of different things Sony may or may not do in terms of their overall strategy for the PS6. I don't think they're going to be, they're anticipating they're going to change it drastically, but there are certain things that they could be willing to alter slightly if need be, based on not based necessarily on what Microsoft is doing, but the reception to what Microsoft is doing. Like we know Microsoft is making a handheld, Sony's also making a handheld. And who knows, maybe things are going to be a lot less interesting for the home console, the traditional home console. Maybe they're going to be pretty boring overall. Maybe the real interesting stuff and the real war or clash, if you will occur with the handhelds. I could see that. If that were true, why is anyone rushing out pro ports? There's no money there right now in that dev time. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a tough call because I don't know. We're just going to have to see. I think a lot is going to happen in 2025 and I think even more is going to happen in 2026. And the truth is the conversation regarding Xbox and PlayStation could be so drastically different by 2026 that we look back at a conversation like this and laugh. Because think of it this way. Think of the conversations we were having in 2022. Were they anything like this? No, they weren't. We kind of look back at those conversations and laugh a bit because it's like, look at how much has changed. I think that same thing is going to happen where, we can only have this conversation now because we only know what we know. But I think a lot's going to go down in the next 12 months, certainly the next 36 months, or not 36 months, 24 months. And I think there's going to be some shit that's going to go down that's going to be like, wow, okay. Kendall Fire 22, you're saying name it the Xbox 720 and lean into the 360 nostalgia. That's what I was saying. I'm telling you, man, if they named it the 720, people would be hyped about that. It sounds a little funny now, but like I'm telling you, I think I would do that if I was Microsoft. I absolutely would do it. Novinzer, you're saying it's short for Xbox past its prime. Oh man. Man, you guys are being savage to Xbox today. So let's see. Okay. Don't set up the hopium rug pull. Xbox is going to fall flat on its face. Don't give people hope, MBG. Well, I mean, I'm not trying to give people hope. At least not with this. I just think Xbox has truly transformed, man, or whatever, like the Xbox brand. It's a transformed brand, and you know, I almost imagine that covering the consoles. So like when I was covering the Series console and the PlayStation 5, when I was covering them, it felt mostly traditional. Like, yeah, like these consoles are warring with one another and they're going at it and they're really fighting for your, like they want to be the one that you pick. Um and so there weren't really any major surprises because of that. Like the biggest surprise, no joke, was probably Craig, for those who remember. Like when they showed Halo Infinite and it's just like it was a disaster and it got memed on. That was probably the biggest surprise. I can't really think of anything else. Then not long after that, I'd say the second biggest surprise was Sony coming out and being like, actually, we are releasing these games on PS4. I think that caught people off guard. And then the surprises continued with PC releases and whatnot, and Microsoft dropping some games on PS5, and things have changed. I I could imagine that the conversation regarding these next gen consoles is going to be kind of awkward because I think you're going to see people still trying to like keep the console wars alive, but I think it's going to be made pretty clear that there are no more console wars between Sony and Microsoft. Like it's over. I think there will be consoles that exist that people can buy, but I don't think there's going to be any kind of war or major competition or anything. Um, I think there's just going to be options, and I think that by the time we get to the launch of this Xbox console, and certainly by the time we get to the launch of the PlayStation 6, it's going to be pretty clear where each company stands. Like each of them are in their own lane. This is the Nintendo lane, very clearly defined. This is the PlayStation lane, very clearly defined, and this is the Xbox lane, very clearly defined. And I think because of that, you're going to see people trying to like cross over into other lanes, in the name of like I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think PlayStation or Xbox are going to try to cross over into each other's lanes to cut each other off. I just don't see that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's over. I think you're going to see people trying to convince themselves as well as other people that that's still what's going on. But I think it's going to be obvious that it's not, dude. I don't think so. Oh man. And here comes the nonsense. Saying as a gamer, you should be excited, not uneasy, like you seem. I'm not uneasy about it. No, I'm actually. I think it's probably going to be a mostly good thing. I don't think Sony's going to be as bad as people think they are. I they could be, but I think a lot of people anticipate that Sony's going to become like a supervillain. I don't think so. I think Sony still has to operate within reality. And that's why like when we talk about the idea of the PlayStation 6 being like $800 or something, I'm like, if Sony wants to kill the PlayStation 6, sure. Go ahead. Sell an $800 console and watch your sales tank. You know, like people are not going to buy a console for $800. Like some people will, but you're not. Your glory days are over in terms of console sales. If you think like you're like at that point, you're literally sending people to the Switch 2. The Switch 2 will be $400. The Switch 2 will have Call of Duty. It will have FIFA. It will have Fortnite. It will have all these games. It will run them not great. It's either that or Sony is sending people to the PS5. And if Sony's sending people to the PS5, well, then you have to question what their long-term ambition is for the PlayStation 6. So I don't know. Things are so weird. Can we at least agree on that? Things are very strange right now. There's so many things that have changed and are still changing and transitioning that it's like we have no idea, no clear idea anyway of like where it's actually going to land. $800 is basically adjusting for inflation. It will be $800. Well, see, that's why I feel like Sony could basically make the PS5. I could see Sony basically leaning into this idea because when we talk about the Sony side of things, I could see Sony basically doing it like this. All right, guys, we have no choice but to sell the PlayStation 6 at like $800. So we have a family of consoles now. The PS5, the PS5 Pro, and the PS6. Take your pick. And that's next gen. And it will be that way because, well, truly Sony will be in a position where it's like, we cannot sell this for less than 800. You know, it's like we can't, or 700 at the very least, $700. It's got to be the same price as when the PS5 Pro launched. I mean, that's the whole thing. The PS5 Pro is $700. So it's like, let's say by 2028, the PS5 Pro is $600. Does that mean this PS6 will be $700? It's a tough one, man. It's a tough call because this is why I feel like Sony's in their own awkward position, man. The only console manufacturer that I think right now has an easy win, I mean like easy win, just momentum, is Nintendo Switch 2. I think that Nintendo would have to go so far out of their way to fuck up the Switch 2. If they just do everything okay and make it what people expect it to be, it's an iterative. It is a next gen Nintendo console, but it's like it's more powerful than the Switch. It'll get more games than the Switch did. But it's still basically the same thing, just a better version, and you're going to get exclusive games for it. I think they're fine. You just name it the Switch 2, rake in the money, rake in the sales, you're good. Develop the games, all as well. I think for Sony and Microsoft, it's complicated. I think it's more complicated for Microsoft, but I think there are certain layers of complication for PlayStation and their next gen that I do think I mean, some people, it's funny because like when I see, there are some people like they really think like, dude, Sony's just gonna. I said earlier you could make the argument that Sony could just kind of continue to do what they're doing, but when I said that, I didn't really take into account that like, well, things are changing, things have changed. Like you could say, yeah, Sony should just do what they did for the PS4 and the PS3 and the PS2 and cut the price of the PS5, but they're not. People think they're not doing it out of greed. It's not so much greed as much as it's just the price of these components are not going down. Previous versions of these consoles, previous generations, the price of these components went down dramatically. Like by the end of the generation, Sony was paying a fraction of what they were paying at the beginning of the generation for these components to make these consoles. And because of that, they were able to dramatically reduce the price and get more consoles into people's hands. With the PS5, and certainly with the PS5 Pro and beyond, that's just not really a thing anymore. And so it's like already Sony can't just do things the way that they did them. They have no choice but to change it. And I imagine that's only going to escalate in the coming years, assuming things go the way we think they are. People will buy it anyway. LOL, Sony said that already. I mean, yeah, but they're not wrong. They're not, you know what I mean? And I look at it as, would it be better for Sony right now if the PS5 was $350 or even $400? Yes. Yes, I do. I think that would be better. I think that, yeah, I mean, or like, let's say you could get the PS5 down to $300, man. I think Sony would be selling a lot more units right now. I think their numbers would be shooting up, but they would be losing money, like quite a bit in doing that. And so I guess like my interpretation of Sony having that mentality is just simply like, the market is still okay with paying $500 for this console. Like they feel as though it's worth it. And yeah, I mean that seems to be the case, man. Um Even the series consoles haven't really gone down in price. So it's not like it's just Sony. It's has the Switch I don't think the Switch hasn't even gone down in price, has it? Illegal Monkey with a $5 super chat says, and it's your 20th time super chatting as well. Thank you for that, man. Sony should make the PS6 an AI workhorse. I tweeted you a video. Look at the stuff AI can do to improve graphics. The game changer. Is it the game changer we're waiting for? I'll try to check that out, Illegal Monkey. I haven't really been on Twitter lately, but I'll see if I can catch that. I mean, I would assume if Sony is waiting for 2028 to release their next gen PlayStation, there's going to be big stuff going on with AI. That's my assumption. I mean, they're already dabbling with it. I mean, we watched that whole Mark Cerny presentation, the 40-minute long one, and yeah, man, I think they have some big plans. So I think you're going to be right about that, Illegal Monkey. I think, like I said, I think a lot's going to change in even just the next 2-3 years. So by the time we get to the PlayStation 6, it's going to be like, whoa. Wow. The only hardware that has been confirmed was the handheld in 2026. People are not looking into that. This is not a home console. Yeah, yeah, maybe that's what's going on here is they're planning on releasing the handheld in 2026 and the actual home console is going to come later on. We could be getting a bit confused here, a bit thrown off course. Prices are going up across the industry for sure. Wouldn't be surprised if games hit $80. Yeah, GTA 6 will be the first one, bro. First $80 game. Everybody follows suit. Could be a hybrid. Mm, I don't think so. No, I don't think they're going the hybrid console route. He said the handheld's coming after the console. Are you sure? I don't know. I might be getting some of these quotes confused. You'd be happy with PS6, with a PS6 with remakes. I mean, yeah, a lot of people roll their eyes at that notion, but I'm telling you, Bloodborne remake is announced. Everybody loses their minds. I think the majority of people are not going to be able to afford stuff, and the industry struggles. Sony's going to keep doing traditional console launches until it doesn't work anymore. I mean, I think the PlayStation 6 generation, I think the PlayStation 6 generation is going to be the first generation where Sony really establishes like we are we are creating a large family of devices that are still going to be directly tethered to the PlayStation ecosystem, but there's going to be a much greater emphasis on it. I think we are seeing that with the PS5, but again, I think there's going to be an even bigger emphasis on it with the next generation, where it's like PS5, PS5 Pro, PlayStation Portal, PSVR 2, and they went pretty hard, I would say, with the you know with the hardware this time around. It's a weird way to put that, but they did a lot, and I just think that with the PS6, they're gonna do even more. Or if not do even more. I think the messaging is going to be more so about trying to like put these things together and make people kind of feel like it's like it might be the first time where Sony's like, hey, it's actually okay if you don't want to buy the PS6 and instead you want to buy the handheld. You know what I mean? Like I think Sony might start to get a little bit more comfortable about doing that, and they can't do that right now. Like they they did enable the streaming of PS5 games through the cloud with the PlayStation Portal. They did enable this, but they're not like trying to. MBG's best quote: Sony went hard with the hardware in 2024. There you go, Capono. But I think we're seeing the beginnings of Sony trying to get into a position where they're more comfortable telling people like, we want you to buy the PS6, but we have another device here that it's not the PS6, and you won't be able to. You probably won't. Well, realistically, you're not going to be able to play PS6 games natively, but it just might be another option. You know what I mean? Like it. I don't know. The idea of like a portable PS5. I just really wonder how the market responds to that. But the PS5, I think, is going to play such a massive role next generation. I really think so. Like, I think a lot of people are going to hold off on the PS6. I think a lot of people are going to hold off on the PS6. They're basically going to stick with the PS5 because the PS5, I think, is still going to get, like, we saw how strong the support was for the PS4. Dude, I think the PS5 is going to be double that when the PlayStation 6 generation rolls around. And I think Sony is going to embrace that rather than try to disconnect from that. And I imagine that this handheld PlayStation device that's basically going to be a portable PS5 is going to play a significant role in that. The AMD CS presentation's about to start. Was it starting at 2 p.m.? Well, we are doing a members lounge after this, so we'll probably be wrapping this conversation up soon because this was really the only major topic I had to discuss with you guys today. So if you guys want to drop any member gifts, if you want to become a channel member, gain access to the members lounge for a little while, we're going to go there and hang out after this. Yeah, I'm gonna be kind of paying attention to later on when Sony does their presentation. Yeah, CES begins today, I believe, but Sony's presentation isn't for me. It's not going to be until 8 p.m. tonight. 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Going to check out the 9070 XT. So you're going from James, you're planning on going from the PS5 Pro to the PS6 Pro, no more base consoles. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, I assume there will be a PS6 Pro at some point. Finally going to get the price of the 5090 today. Is it going to be like $2,000 or something? Or $1,500? Right? It's like going to be super expensive. Will I stream tomorrow? Probably, yeah. $2,500? What? That just sounds unreasonable. Completely unreasonable. $2,500 for a GPU? Holy crap. That can't be right. I don't believe that. That's nuts. I mean, what is this GPU gonna do, bro? Did you see what Matt Piscatella tweets saying about console warring? No. What did he say? For $2,500, that GPU better drive me to work. NVIDIA has no competition at the high end MEG. This could be your future on console. Uh-oh. I mean, I guess that would explain why it's that expensive. Supposedly, the RTX 5080 will have an MSRP of $1,400 to $1,700, and RTX 5090 around $2,600 to $3,000. Oh my lord! 20 times more powerful than the Pro. Well, for that price, I guess you would have to hope so. That doesn't, is that true? 20 times more powerful? Well, what does that translate to though? If that's true, like what does 20 times more power on a PS5 Pro look like? Is it one of those things where like on paper it sounds great, but it's like in practice it's like it's pretty great, but it's not like, I don't know. I guess I'd have to see it. Maybe I'll check out a video or something. It's like 2 mortgage payments. I'm gonna have to take out a second mortgage to get this 5090. Teraflops, bro. Makes your games designed for mid-range hardware look better. That's a funny way to put it, I guess. Pushing path tracing at high frame rates. I mean, that's interesting. I wonder Wonder how many devs will try to take advantage of that. That'd be super interesting to see. Path tracing at higher frame rates. 320 T-flops. All right, guys, we're doing like the 5-minute warning here. 5 more minutes, and we're going to wrap this up and head over to the members lounge for a little while. It's going to sell out day one. I believe it. I believe it. Astrobot has won a total of 104 Game of the Year awards across all gaming media right now, becoming the most awarded platforming game of all time. That's crazy. Really? That's nuts, dude. Of all time? Holy shit. You can run The Last of Us 2 Remastered in 16K. 16K, bro. What would 16K even look like? You can't wait for new Impossible ports. Guys, hear me out. MBG, The Last of Us will get ported to the Switch too. I don't think so, man. I would think Horizon maybe, but not The Last of Us. $16K would look like another dimension, probably. Human eyes can't even perceive it. You're saying I guarantee barely any game is going to be optimized for what the 5090 can do, at least for the first year or so. It sounds like these high-end GPUs are almost treated like the same way new consoles are. Where it's like you're kind of making the investment now, but you got to wait to really see what it's going to end up doing. 16K looks like real life. I don't know if Sony's going to do PSVR 3, man. At least not anytime soon. I think we got quite a few years left for PSVR 2. All right, guys. I think this is where we're going to wrap up today's stream. We're going to head over to the members lounge. So if you are a channel member, that's going to go up about a minute after this stream ends. So I hope to catch you guys over there. But before I wrap everything up, I want to thank you guys for all of your support. Thank you for tuning in today. I want to ask you to please hit that like button as you are filing out. It helps the streams. Thank you to anybody who dropped any type of donations today. I can only do this because you guys make it possible. And I also want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. All right, Devil Shooter does the timestamps for the streams. So if you guys see him in the comments, give him some thanks, and really appreciate what you do for the channel and the community, Devil Shooter. But yeah, okay, so Members Lounge going up in just a minute. So to all my members, I will catch you over there, and to everybody else, I will catch you in the next one. And we do have a video going out later today as well, so be on the lookout for that. And all right, that does it, guys. I will catch you in the next one. So until then, take care, everyone.